Greetings, all you Jackson Janets out there, and welcome to your Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger. We're back for the Steelers talk going into Week 6, I believe. We have a little NFL stories we're going to cover, but I am joined by the two co-hosts, the two desk seats, the Laskers and the Gingy. Boys, good week. Gingy, start with your thoughts on the week.
Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Yeah, getting a W. I like it, Donkey. Hey, last week called the explosion of offense. And yes, I'm going to proclaim that 27 points is an explosion for this offense. I am. More on that later. But, yeah, really happy to see the dub. Really, almost let him come back in there at the end.
Yeah.
Really kind of concerning there, but still nice to come away with the dub and see a couple other teams in the AFC North blow it, like the Bungles.
Yes. Green Bay blew it first, but I'll get into that game actually because I got to watch that game instead of the Steelers game. Laskers, your thought on Week 5?
Well, at least we won. We definitely tried to lose that game for sure, and I'm glad to see Ben now has more touchdowns than he has interceptions, even though he tried really hard to tie the number of touchdowns he has again with interceptions.
Yeah, he's playing better ball. A little help from the opponent defense, but still, the steps were in the right direction, and that's what matters. You cannot lose games like this if you want to be a playoff team. We have another one coming up, and we'll get into previewing that. But first, a couple stories around the NFL I would like to touch on personally is don't kick field goals. I watched 3 games on Sunday. I watched 5 field goals in the last 5 minutes of the game or overtime, just in the Green Bay-Cincy game that was missed. I also watched the Cincy kicker celebrate as he hit the flag that was outside the upright. I'm just saying, please stop kicking for field goals. I also saw one in the Indy game where it got blocked. Please stop playing for game-winning field goals because you're going to lose. Also, we had an NFL record last week, guys. 13 missed PATs. What the heck is going on with kickers right now?
Mid-season slump.
It's scary. Also, we cover AFC North football here because we're Steelers, so we got to keep an eye on the division. Bengals losing the worst kicking showdown I've ever seen in overtime to the Packers. Good for us. The Browns becoming the first team in NFL history to score 40-plus points, not turn the ball over, and lose. That Chargers team is good. I'll give them that, but Brownies, that's the wrong side of history. Good side for the Steelers. And then, of course, we have how the hell do the Ravens win football games? I mean, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray. Which of those 3 do you consider the best playmaker in the NFL? Because honestly, I'm at a loss on which one I would take because I wouldn't take Kyler just because he gets hurt too much. But out of those other 2, which one's the best playmaker, you guys?
A tough call, Donkey. You really touched right there on the 3 around the league things that I wanted to touch on. The 5-0 Cardinals gritting one out at home versus the Niners. Kyler Murray, of course, there. The Bills really asserting dominance over the Chiefs in that game. The second half takeover. And I thought Chiefs, that was a vulgar display.
Chiefs looking bad with the worst defense in football.
Vulgar display. And of course, I don't know. That's more about the Colts secondary really being bad more so than they made Lamar look really good in that game, and they blew it. They gave it away.
Lamar, if that Lamar that threw the ball last week goes with the Lamar that you can't tackle, how the hell do you beat Baltimore?
I don't think you can if that happens.
That's a scary dude if he's learning how to throw the football. I mean, that's like... There's 2 Josh Allens in the AFC is essentially what that would become, except one's the better runner and one's the better passer. No, I'm not down for that because that's a long time in the dungeon for us. I don't like it.
Stiff competition.
Also, we have to talk on the absolute point of emphasis right now. John Gruden stepping down because his private emails are made public. Cancel culture's coming for the NFL, and there's a lot of people that have a lot of stuff that if it gets out there is going to get them. I think this is probably the start of the tip of the iceberg, and I have a feeling you're going to see a lot more casualties coming here shortly.
don't like cancel culture. I promote education. I don't even know if the guy understands what he did wrong. That's all I got to say
that's
about
the thing.
that.
You don't get a chance to step back up. You get caught doing it, you're done. It's like we preach all this second chance stuff, and people do the drugs, they do the beating, they get a second chance. But if you say something wrong, that just ends you. If you say the wrong thing now, you're done. You're better, and it sounds terrible to say it, you're better off getting in a fight and going to jail than you are saying the wrong thing. And that's a scary spot to be. And the fact is, we're unearthing emails that are so long ago in some of these cases that it's like, I know the first one that got him in trouble was over 10 years ago, and he wasn't an NFL coach. He wasn't even in the NFL. He was just doing announcing on ESPN. I mean, it's time to be very, very, very appropriate, right, Laskers?
Oh, I definitely think so. I mean, to me, it is ridiculous that what you're saying. It's 10 years ago. That's super long ago. And, I mean, I would hope that he has grown up in the last 10 years and maybe realizes what he said back then was wrong. But you never know.
Hey, honest question here, Gingy. With all this cancel culture shit, all this shit we know about the owner of the Redskins, Dan Smith, is that right?
The owner of the what?
The Washington football team.
Ah, yeah, okay. Yeah, I know that guy.
Let's correct my cancel culture mistake here.
We might as well if we're talking about it. But
I mean, we know that guy essentially pimped out his cheerleaders. Like, how is that dude still allowed to own an NFL team in the modern culture the way it is?
what's done in the dark always comes to the light, Donkey. We'll see.
Well, I, for one, hope not, because I like living in the dark.
Uh-oh.
But that's neither here nor there. So I'd like to get to talk about the game last week. Big win against Denver. Tried to let them back in it, but that's the team you need to beat. Teddy Bridgewater's not a top-tier quarterback. You got to make him look so. Some fun things that happened out there. Just things I saw. Gingy, good job calling the Steelers score. Right on with that. Almost got it right, but it was a one-score game, not a two-score game. But calling the Steelers score on the nose, I like to see that. Second thing I saw, someone's X Factor really stepped out and balled until he got hurt, and that was Devin Bush. Just saying, dude stepped up. And then I want to get into some other things, but that will lead me into this week. But the last thing I want to say is, hey, the Steelers aren't the only stupid team out there. For once, I felt like we outcoached a team and we put players in situations to win where they put them in situations to lose. A la, Von Miller was covering Chase Claypool on that 55-yard slant route he ran. The hell are the Denver Broncos trying to do?
Yeah, they messed up there, Donkey, but heck yeah, shout out to the Steelers offense for getting it together. Did call that the explosion. 27 points, let's go. A couple deep balls by Ben. But really what I want to emphasize is the formula that they used to win it. Ben Roethlisberger, 25 pass attempts, 130 QBR. All right, that is what we're looking at right there. Najee Harris, 23 attempts on the ground, 5.3 a carry. Long of 20, one touchdown. That's the formula right there. That is the way that this offense is going to succeed. The defense didn't have that killer instinct to put them away at the end. There's some things to talk about there. You mentioned Devin Bush becoming injured. You're wondering, how often is this guy on the field? How often is he performing at the top level? Positives and negatives, but again, I'm glad to take away the dub.
For sure. Laskers, I feel like you have a little different take on everything that happened. What you hitting us with?
My concern is 23 carries from a running back is a lot. You can't expect to succeed if you're going to give him the ball 23 times a game. You need to get some other running backs involved that'll do the same type of work.
I like that you bring this up, and I'm going to point this right back at Gingy. While you say the offense explosion ran there, we saw Najee Harris get run down in this game. This is week 5 of the season. If the Steelers do not stop his usage, how does he live 17 games? Because he had to leave the field twice because of some calf ailment that was hitting him this week. I think the usage is starting to get to him.
Need to see Benny Snell continue to step up. 5 attempts, 20 yards,
Christ.
4 yards a carry. That's not a premier back.
Did you see his drop on third down in the first quarter?
Yes, he's
Bro,
not
Najee
out of the
effing
backfield.
football.
No,
I could have caught that effing football.
Yes. But we can't. That Najee's the guy we went and got. You know what I'm saying? And I think James Conner drops that ball. So
I don't think James Conner drops that ball. James Conner had decent hands. He doesn't have great hands, but the hands I've seen out of Najee, I wouldn't say are that much better than James Conner. I've heard all the talk, but I've seen Najee put the ball on the ground way too often for my liking. I hope at some point McFarland can come back and maybe he can actually catch a football out of these running backs, because I know Najee has a lot of catches, but he has a lot of drops on there too. He's dropping something like 20% of the passes that come his way. That's not good football.
yeah, well, rookie mistakes, Donkey.
I hear you. I actually think I liked what I saw from the offense. Ben got away with a few critical mistakes in that game. There were 2 easy interceptions for Johnson that he dropped, and this is what I liked about the Steelers. When the Denver Broncos made a mistake, the Steelers capitalized. And I think that's what the offense has to do, is anytime they're given second life or given a short field, they have to make sure points are put on the board, and that is what they did. Both times Johnson dropped give me interceptions, we scored touchdowns. That's 14 points. That's the difference in the game if we're being honest. The ability of Ben to take advantage of mistakes is what he has to do, but he has to stop putting that ball in areas where he makes mistakes. Those 2 balls should have been picked. That fumble, man, you're running outside the pocket with linebackers like Denver has. You have to cover the football. You cannot be making Lamar Jackson fumbles out there. I mean, Lamar Jackson can make plays with his leg. That's why he has those fumbles. Ben can't. Ben cannot be having those fumbles because he's trying to run outside the pocket. I'm a little concerned there. I like seeing the offense go forward. My bigger question right now is, can this offense get to a point where they have the firepower to play with the top teams in the AFC? Because 27 points is not going to do it when you play some of these upper echelon teams. Unless our defense has a ball-out day, you're going to need a score in the 30s.
It's true, Donkey. I don't disagree with you.
Now, Laskers, I want to give you the first go on what did you see from the defense against Denver?
Ooh, what did I see? It was a little concerning at the end of the game, but before that, they were looking pretty good. They were actually stopping them, but towards the end of the game, it's like they lost what they were trying to do.
Yeah, second half was bad. I mean, Denver ends up almost with as many yards as Pittsburgh, where we had them outgained 2-1 in the first half. They end up averaging over 5 yards a carry on the ground. I think it was something for like 18 for 106. Thank goodness we were able to, put them in a spot where they had to throw the ball. And again, the secondary getting burned on deep plays when the game's not out of reach. That can't be happening. Someone, whether it be the offense stepping on someone's throat by just scoring where we're up 21 or the defense holding a team back, someone needs to make it so when we're playing lesser teams, it's not a one-score game going down to a 4th and goal at the 2-yard line. Gingy, how do we get there?
Turnovers. Need to force more turnovers at key opportunities.
I can feel you there. I mean, there was only 1 turnover in the game. We had the turnover margin of, 1-1, I believe. But
I'd like to win that battle,
not
tie it.
I'm with you on that. Didn't we have like 20 minutes of possession in the first half, and then they out-possessed us the second half? I mean, it feels like this team, and last year's team too, to an extent, at least the end of last year's team, cannot put a full game together. It's like, for some reason, this team only shows up for one half of football. And I don't know if you can do that against a desperate, hungry Seattle team next week. I mean, if we don't get off to a fast start and we let Seattle continue to run the ball, we could be in trouble. The way that team, we were great on third downs last week. I don't know if we'll be that great again. What were they, 2 for 12? But when it came to fourth down, it was like they're 3 of 3 on that first touchdown drive, and then their only stop was the interception on fourth down by Pierre on a ball that Bridgewater threw a mile behind his receiver. Why are the Steelers, whether it be a first half or a second half, why is this team only playing one half of football?
I think they got a little too comfortable with that lead, in my opinion.
What was the biggest the lead got? Was it? It was never a 3-score game, was it? It was always a 2-score game.
24 to 6.
Yeah, so it was 24 to 6.
Okay.
It was a 2-score game with two 2-point conversions.
So 2-score game though. Yeah. So 2-score game was the longest it got.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that'd be 3-score if it's 24-6, because that's 18. 18's 3 scores. So if it was a 3-score game, I could get that, but it was given back so quick. It felt just, I don't know. I feel we're going into Seattle. That's a team that gives up 25 points a game, but they're scoring 24 points a game. Yes, they have a backup quarterback, but we tend to struggle against them. We're an offense that's not scoring 20 points a game, and the defense giving up 22-ish a game. I mean, this is our 11th straight regular season game under 30 points. Our defense, when you look at their average, if we're not scoring over 30 points, it's a 1-score game. We're going into Seattle, and now what is a must-win game because they have a backup quarterback. If you're looking at the playoffs, our schedule's tough. We have to hope injuries happen right before us, and we take advantage. Going into the Seattle game, what do you think this team needs to do? Gingy, you want to go first?
More of the same on offense. Consistent running. 5 yards a carry is where it needs to be at. It gives Ben Roethlisberger some opportunities and some space to land a throw. He isn't what he used to be. And, him under duress usually ends up with him trying to be a hero, Donkey. And that's not what we need. Ben Roethlisberger with more than 40 pass attempts is a losing formula.
I'm going to be honest. I watched that game, and Ben looks like a broken man. I mean, he got another injury on his finger, banging it off Najee's helmet.
He'd get banged up.
Yeah, and it's not looking like it's getting any better. Let's be honest, that offensive line is playing a little better, but not really. What was it, 4 or 5 offensive penalties again? Just that offensive line needs to really, really, really take a step forward, I feel. But I hear you. We do need to run the ball. Clearly, the way for this team to succeed is run the ball more than we pass it, because that leaves Ben the least amount of opportunities to make a mistake. And if you give Ben 50 throws, he's going to turn it over at least twice. That's how I've always felt. You give him 25 throws, the defense might only have 1 or 2 chances at an interception. If they don't make them, we get a game like Denver where the stat sheet looks pretty clean. But Laskers, the loss of Juju, how big is that going to be?
I think it's going to be bigger than we really want it to be. I mean, at least Juju had 2 runs last week. Granted, it was only for 6 yards, but that injury, that looked like it was going to hurt a lot.
Yeah, watching his face when he was going off the field, you're just like, I personally didn't want to bring him back, but when he was here, man, watching us lose him, I was like, that's going to be bad. Gingy, I know you think this is an opportunity for other guys to step up, but you don't feel that loss is going to be felt somewhat?
100% going to be felt, Donkey. Going to need somebody to step up. Not just want somebody, need somebody to fulfill somewhat of that role. We're looking at an offense that wasn't extremely deep nor dynamic with the starters on the field. So, yes, of course it's going to be felt. But in order for us to get anywhere, someone is going to have to step up.
All right, so I want to know, we've covered the offense a little, how they're going to go against Seattle. I mean, that's a hungry team. That's a bit of a beaten up offense or defense there in Seattle. Who do you think is going to be our offensive X factor going into this week, Laskers?
I think it's going to have to be Najee again. Got to have a big game from him to have a chance, but he can't be the only one to run the ball is still going to be my biggest point.
That's fair. That's fair. Gingy, who are you looking to on the offense side of the ball to be that X factor?
Looking for our second overall pick, Pat Fryermuth, to step up and take more of a demanding role in the short to mid game. That might be asking a lot of the rookie, I understand, but if we're talking about X factors that I think, I'd like to see, have him see more of the field. I mean, if it's him or Ebron, you know who I'm going to want to see. And Ben has always traditionally relied on his tight end quite a bit in order to get him out of jams, and I think an asset in that area would really help his team expand.
It would be nice to get more than 17 yards from the tight ends.
Indeed, Plaskers. Indeed.
Yeah, there has not been a whole lot of explosion coming out of all these guys. I was told it's going to have the explosion. It's been the same two guys we knew coming in, Deontay Johnson and Claypool, the only explosive guys. I really feel the X factor is going to be Matt Canada. I felt like last week was the first game you got to see Matt Canada's game plan because the Steelers got out early and the Steelers were able to stay in what Canada wants to do. I have watched Matt Canada play. I've watched Matt Canada coordinate for Pitt, and I got to watch almost every game when he did that. There's two Matt Canadas. There's the, oh shit, we fell behind and now we're screwed. And there's the, we're playing out in front and now we can play Matt Canada football. I think the X factor is Matt Canada and his ability to keep these early successes going. Because if the Steelers can stay where we can stay run heavy, I think we have a chance at being successful. If we fall behind and we have to go more towards the pass, which if we get down even 3 points, it becomes huck it, chuck it football. I don't think the Steelers have much of a chance of success. So I think the X factor is not someone on the field, but rather someone who is just in the coaching box, and that is Matt Canada. I hope we can get it started early again. And ironically, that also leads to what is going to lead to success on defense. I mean, we're going against Seattle without Russell Wilson. Geno Smith last week put up 10 points in the little over a quarter he played, or was it little under? I don't remember. But either way, he had that offense moving pretty well. I know Chris Carson's hurt. I don't think he's playing. But what is the key for this defense, Gingy, to stop the Seattle Seahawks offense?
Stopping the run and stopping Tyler Lockett.
Oh, you're not afraid of old fucking built out of a laboratory DK Metcalf?
Who isn't? But yeah, I think Lockett's still the number one guy there, and that's the guy who I think is really going to gouge you over the top.
I hear you. Laskers, how are you looking at us stopping them? What do you think's going to happen?
You stole my idea. It was DK Metcalf. I think you need to make sure he doesn't tear it up.
I hear you on that. I have a completely different take from you guys. I believe, like Gingy though, it is stopping the run game, but I believe it's not letting Will Dressel get going because he hasn't done much this year. But the bugaboo for the Steelers when they play bad is tight ends. I think receivers get theirs against us. Yes, if those two have big games, it could be a problem. But I think the bigger thing is stopping the tight end because if you stop the tight end, you stop the conversions. Last week against Denver, we stopped the tight ends essentially. And if you looked at their conversions, they were terrible. And I think that's what the defense needs to do. We're going to give up yards. What we have to do is on possession downs, those third downs, we need to get off the field. I think the biggest key there is stopping the tight end. I think if you do that, the offense gets to a quick start. We can start doing all sorts of fun stuff like we did a little bit against Denver, but then stopped. The big key is the seven guys up front need to be able to stop the running game, and on the possession downs, you need to stop the tight end. That's what I'm looking at here. I think if we do that and we get 60 yards of punts again from Presley Harvin, you're talking field-changing stuff. I think that could be huge. As I cough and die. Don't worry about that.
Heck yeah. I don't disagree, Donkey.
So that gets it. What do you think, or who is the Steelers' X factor this week on defense? We already got our offensive ones. Who are we looking for on defense?
Yeah, I'll go. It's the Steelers secondary. Got to be able to stop those two big guys we talked about, Metcalf and Lockett. Pierre had a couple big blows to his confidence last week. Gave up a couple, redeemed himself in the end. We're going to have to see if that secondary can hold up again.
Do you have a specific player you're looking at, or just all 6 of those guys?
I'm looking at all 6 of those guys in the backfield. I feel pretty confident in our pass rush still to come through when it needs to. I'm looking at all 6 of those guys in the backfield there.
By the way, this is a little late or a little early, but I don't want to give him it during the time. But Arthur Millette played out of his mind last week. That's the guy who needs to be playing in the slot until further notice.
I think.
And with that, Laskers, X Factor?
I'm going to go with the front guys. I think that we really do need to stop the run and continue to pressure. Make sure Geno doesn't have the opportunity to throw down the field. And also, how about this idea? Are we a little fatigued on our defense? Is that why we're having so many issues? Are we just not conditioned enough?
That's a fair question. They do seem to get run down a little, but that's what happens when you don't have a lot of depth players. I mean, if you look at the team who's doing it the best right now, you would say it's the Bills, and they literally rotate all 4 of their defensive linemen. I think the highest snap rate of any other defensive lineman is 55%. That might be the new key to success in the NFL, but you have to have the talent to do it, and it's hard to have that much talent. I really feel like it's a schematic thing, and we just don't have the players to hold up long-term on the outside without the pass rush. I think the pass rush not being what it's been in years past is the biggest slack. What are you thinking, Gingy?
Yeah. I don't think the pass rush lacks, Donkey. I think we just paid a guy more than anybody's ever been paid to play the position ever. I think TJ needs to step up, needs to continue to play consistently, not step up, but continue to play consistently and allow, other players to create plays around him and get those key turnovers in the red zone. Real big momentum swings and real things that help our offense maybe disguise some of their weaker points.
All right, before I get to my X Factor, I want you guys, since you named whole unit groups, I need you guys to give me a stat line that I'm looking for the unit groups for them to have a successful day. Like, Gingy, for the secondary to be successful, what are we looking at? Do they need to force a certain amount of turnovers? Do they need to not allow a certain amount of big plays? Like, what is it that is going to make the deal, the X Factor, the
Listen, Donkey, if you're going to call out X Factors, I'm calling out Matt Canada as an X Factor. All right, but what I'm going to say...
I just want to know what the stats are. I told you at Canada, what we need is a first... I'll even say it right now. We need a first quarter touchdown, and more importantly, to end the first quarter in the lead. And I think that's on Canada. I would love another first drive touchdown. I think we need an early lead, and so I will tell you, it's the first quarter. Matt Canada needs to have the Steelers winning the football game at the end of the first quarter.
Specifically, what I'm looking at from the back 6 is for them to keep everything in front of them. I don't want to see any passes over 50 yards. If those guys catch balls 10, 5, 10 yards down the field from time to time, great. I hope that they're able to do that and keep field goals on the board, and then when they get into that red zone, let that defense do that work and provide that big dagger and that support to help out that offense that's, score on a good day going to be able to score 27 to, 34 points.
I hear you. Last year, you said you like the front 7. Are you looking, and it was mainly in the run game, so are you looking for like under 3.5 yards a carry? Is that safe to say is a good spot?
That's definitely a good spot, and I'd also like to see... I'm thinking 4 sacks. I think that's what we really need to help Gingy on the back 6. And also, I think TJ needs to show up. I mean, he did good the first game after he signed the contract, but since then, yeah, he's been there, but he's not being the guy that we're paying all this money to.
Groins can be a tricky thing, as the Steelers are learning, because every player's missing a game due to a groin. Anyway, so we'll get to my X Factor. I think the most important guy on the field today is going to be Joe Schobert. I think he needs to show up. I think he needs to have those 10 tackles, that 2 pass defenses against the tight end, because he's going to be covering a tight end. He's going to be key to run stopping. I think he needs to put up those double-digit tackles. I'd like to see 2 to 3 tackles for loss, because if he's able to do that, let no yardage after contact on his hits happen, or minimal yardage, let's say less than a yard per tackle, I'm saying that's the guy who's going to make the difference. I think he's the guy who needs to step up. We traded for him for a reason. He's getting all this money for a reason. I think this is a game Schobert needs to show up, because if we can stop the run against Seattle, get that early lead that Canada needs to put up for the offense, I think making Geno Smith play from behind is going to give us the opportunity for turnovers, and that's how the Steelers win this Sunday night primetime game that they need to have going into the bye, because going into the bye at 3-3 is going to be a heck of a lot easier than going into the bye 2-4.
Amen. Let's go, Donkey.
With that, prediction time. Who got to go first last week? Because I want to keep it new. You know what? I don't ever go first, so I'm going to go first with my prediction. I think the Steelers keep it rolling. I think that we get to 3-3 by the bye, because I believe that's what I had us at anyway when I did my thing, but I have to go back. I'm feeling 24-17 Steelers. No idea how we get there, just feeling we get there.
Ooh, Donkey, good call, good call. That's pretty close to mine. I say that the Steelers offense still gets it done, but maybe isn't quite as efficient as last week. I also think they score 24 points, but I think it ends 24-20 in a nail-biter where Seahawks are going down the field and Geno makes the critical mistake and the Steelers close it out.
So, for all you poor Seattle fans out here, Gingy's essentially saying, you know what happened last week? Yeah, it's coming again.
Here's the backup. Let's go.
All right, Laskers, what you got? I know you're on the Seattle bandwagon.
Well, no, I told you
jinx.
guys.
You think it's a jinx. I got you.
No, I told you guys I was going to pick us to lose, because right now we're 1-0 when I pick us to lose, so we got to continue to go with that streak. I'm going 27-24 Seattle.
Ooh. All right, what I'm getting out of here is your Donk Nation crew is definitely feeling this is going to be a close, tight football game. So hold on to your seats. Make sure you take your aspirin before if you have a heart problem. Make sure you have your beers ready if you're a drinker, your food ready if you're a grubber, because you're in for a tight one's what we're telling you. With that, it's time for shout-outs. Gingy, you were the closest to score, right? So you get the honor of doing your first shout-out.
Shout out last week to my man Mondu, pulling a sack out, hair beautifully flying in the wind. What a sight to behold, Donkey. Shout out Mondu, making the best of his time on the field. Let's go.
I should have known it was going to be Mondu, but for some reason I didn't even think about it. All right, Laskers, who you got?
I'm going to go shout out to Najee. 5.3 yards a carry is doing pretty good. And also, I'm going to shout out the Tampa Bay Rays. Even though they lost for the season, they had a good season.
I got to give a shout out to someone who I loved watching growing up. I always traded for him on my Madden teams. And he's getting inducted, I believe, into the Washington Ring of Honor, and that is Sean Taylor. Young safety, huge playmaker out of Miami, who got killed, but he was like 24, 26, somewhere in there, young guy.
Tragic.
Down way back 10 years ago, defending his family from a home invasion. I mean, it's good to see that people haven't forgot him, because he was a hell of a player, looked like a hell of a person. I mean, I got to give a shout out there because he's back in the news, so I got to give my shout out to Sean Taylor. And with that, it's time to let you know where you can reach us. Again, let us know what we did right. Let us know what we did wrong. Let us know how crazy our predictions are. If you go against Gingy, I'm just letting you know. He does crystal ball it, so don't hate on Gingy's predictions because you know you're going to be wrong. But you can reach me at Viking Donkey on Xbox, Viking_Donkey, Twitch, and Twitter. You hear our show on the Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger YouTube channel. Leave us comments. Leave us a post about it. Let us know how we're doing. And with that, we'll go to Laskers, who will send it to Gingy to let you know how to end the day.
You can find me on Laskers, and I always thought everywhere. I always thought Gingy used the magic 8 ball.
You know what, Laskers? In these hard times, you get away with what you can. If it's the 8 ball,
You shake again.
If it's the,
You shake
if
again.
It's the, if it's the 8 ball, if it's the crystal ball, if it's predicting a Steelers W, we're gonna use it and we're gonna wave them if you got them, people. This is me, Mutant Gingy, playing Xbox, hanging out, talking football with the boys. Here we go, Steelers. Let's put 2 back to back. Wave them if you got them. Donk Nation, Steelers Nation. Let's go.